Hello, I'm Jonathan. I was told I should do a handshake when I go on stage. I'm doing it very selectively. I've been given the questionable privilege of going first. I have to admit that I'm rather nervous. So my friends are here. My first wife is in the audience. We're still married. Now, I really like speaking in front of an audience, especially a captive audience. When I'm on a flight, after they close the doors, I like getting up and saying, "Attention, everyone! Attention! I just want to say that contrary to rumors, we're all perfectly safe. Now, the crew. I don't do this very often. I'm not what you would call DJ or an artist or any other way you want to say I'm employed. I'm a real actual person. I have a job. I have a mortgage. I have a roommate who never helps around the house. He never pays. But he is my son, so I'm legally obligated to care for. And I learned through having a kid that I really like kids because kids are small and they're weak. And I like being superior. And you've got to teach kids everything, how to dress themselves, how to feed themselves. And it's a wonderful opportunity to really focus on them. So I told my son, for example, I said, "Son, you should only ever eat a watermelon while standing waist deep in water." Or, "Son, if you ever open your eyes while peeing, your dick will fall off." "Son, I love you." "Son, sporks are an abomination," and he believes everything. Childhood is a very formative part of one's life. I grew up in Israel. You may have heard of it. It's the country that really hates Arabs and really likes gay people. And if you're a gay Arab, we're just really confused. In Israel, there's a strong awareness of danger and death. So, for example, in Israel, if you see a box on the street, then you're told never approach it, it's a bomb. Here, you walk right up to it and go, "Oh, look, free clothes." Israel, we know that the sun is trying to kill you. In fact, the Hebrew word for sun literally means sky cancer. So when I leave the house, it doesn't really. When I leave the house, I wear so much sunscreen it looks like I'm wearing mayonnaise on me. And my wife, who's European, she will wear a mixture of sunscreen and tanning oil, which to me makes about as much sense as using cocaine and Valium at the same time. Which is it's great if you like having super weird dreams. The other day I walked into a cafe and I saw a man having a seizure, fall over. So I did what any normal person would do. I turned around to leave. But just before I did, I took my coffee in my own to-go cup that I brought with me. I'm not a monster. But it got me thinking about how fragile and fleeting life is, and I started thinking about what am I really doing with my time other than teaching my son how to eat fruit properly. I started thinking about what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing. This is a process where you convert food into poop. It's called eating. I'm not a foodie. I'm a don't give a fuck about food. I would eat styrofoam, and I have, except it keeps floating back up in the toilet. So to save time, I decided I'm going to stop eating solid foods and switch to powdered meals. Soylent, have you heard of it? It's this powder where you mix it with water. The upside is it tastes like a mixture of sand and urine. The downside is it goes right through you. It's kind of like having cholera. Cholera is it's not a place in Brandenburg, it's a disease. Some of you may have had it, may have heard of it, maybe sitting next to someone who's got it right now. It's not the most social disease. It's kind of a damper on conversations you have to keep getting up. So to excuse myself and explain why I'm getting up to go to the bathroom all the time, I just told my friends I've got a drug problem. All my friends were like, "Oh, that makes sense, that's fine." One of my friends followed me to the toilet once. We're no longer friends. Thank you very much.
Never done stand-up before. Pretty good. I thought, wow, that was so good. Wow, holy shit. Sorry, I'm trying not to sound too surprised. Fuck no. Jonathan is what we would call the class clown, which in a stand-up class you can imagine is annoying. No, he's so much fun. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep it rolling right along. Please give it up for Emma!
Okay, I know you're nervous. Yeah, we get trained for 6 weeks to stand here, and you guys get no professional training at all to be stand-up comedians audience. Don't worry, it's really simple. Just whenever you're not sure if you should laugh or not, just laugh, okay? It's really simple. My name is Emma. I'm from China. I came to Berlin 7 years ago, and I want to make some friends, and someone gave me a very good tip. He said, Emma, you should drink more. You look too serious sometimes. And then I discovered alcohol-free beer. It's really good. It makes me, having a bottle in my hand, it makes me look reasonably relaxed. So it's an invitation for people to come and talk to me. And then they come over, they realize what I was drinking, and suddenly they need to go and get another drink. So as my entire social success depends on alcohol-free beer, I have a very big issue with the label. You see, there are two types of beer, one with alcohol, one without. And why do we label the rather harmless alcohol-free beer with a name that makes it sound like social outcast? We don't do this with people, right? For people, we single out the alcoholics. Can you imagine if we do the opposite? Oh, the Chinese girl from my class, she's non-alcoholic. I heard that she gets up early in the morning and do Pilates. She has a problem. So I think we should call the alcohol-free beer the beer, and the other beer alcoholic beer, which is what it is, really. And then the next time I saw a guy with a beer in his hand, and the label says alcoholic. Yeah. Well, I have another problem in Berlin. I love meat. I really do. You don't see it, but yeah. And the city is taken over by vegans. Just last week, my company hosted a summer party, and then there are 250 shades of green salads and 2 sausages. And both of them filled with tofu. And then I was like, well, and then my colleague said, well, Emma, isn't this great? We're saving the planet for eating less meat. I was like, well, that's naive. I know a real way to save the planet. Well, you know, people here eat a lot of chicken, right? What do you do with chicken feet? You throw it in the garbage. And back in China, where I come from, people actually love to eat chicken feet. As a matter of fact, China is the biggest importer of chicken feet from America. That is 1.4 billion people eating chicken feet, solid garbage, every day. What helps the planet better in a direct way, like this? I think vegetarians and vegans will not make the planet a better place. It's chicken feet eaters like myself that saves the planet. Well, there is one thing that I love better than alcohol-free beer and chicken feet. It's hot water. It's yes, it's a plain, freshly boiled hot water. According to our 5,000 years of Chinese wisdom, hot water is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. You have a bellyache, drink hot water. You're unemployed and broke, drink hot water. Your upstairs neighbor is having too much fun in her bedroom and you're just turned 36 and single. Get out and drink hot water. I really miss it. It's not easy to get hot water in Berlin as a drink. In fact, once I was in a restaurant, finally they managed to believe that I really just want the plain hot water to drink. And then they brought me one. I was very happy until I saw the bill. It's €3.50 for tea without tea. Yeah, tea without tea. Hot water has its name. It's not complicated. And why don't you charge me for cappuccino without coffee or milk? Or chicken soup without chicken or soup? And then I was not happy. I complained. And then someone said, Emma, be happy. You're in Germany. Germany is a free country. You get to enjoy freedom of speech. I said, yeah, freedom of speech sounds cool. Ah, is that the reason why my upstairs neighbor is having so much fun in her bedroom? She's really loud and she sounds really free. And most importantly, when you have a bellyache or a headache, does it help you? Yeah, the answer is, I don't know. You figure it out. Great. So you guys have been really great as a non-professional audience. Thank you very much. Thank you, Emma. Yes. Wow. So good. I live for just that look of relief just after they've come off stage. Oh, just think that up. Yes, that was Emma. Fantastic. Who's been banned from bringing snacks to class. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for your next act. It's Garrett.
Thank you. Caroline said that this is a beginner's class. Clearly it's not, at least not for those two. Also not for myself. Actually, this weekend I practiced myself on a few drunken friends with nothing with nothing than a banana. I was dressed too. Anyway, so yeah, but like regular microphones with a cable are kind of weird too. I think they should come with a T-shirt that says, "I really wanted to get a dog, but I just had money for a leash." Yeah, so I'm new to comedy, but I've been thinking about doing this for quite some time. I always pictured myself to be the intellectual type, doing political satire, sharing witty observations about society. And then I prepared material for the show, and I was like, wow, I guess I'm just another white dude with a crappy dating life. Yeah. So the thing is actually, when it comes to dating, I'm a bit like a medical miracle. Because you see, for most of my adult life, I was in 2 long-term relationships. And then coming out of that second one was just like waking up from a really long coma. Well, it wasn't like a real coma, right? It's not like somebody came up to me and said, well, I just have to catch you up. So since you've been out, Conan the Barbarian was the governor of California for 8 years. Then the US got a black president, and he received a Nobel Peace Prize. And now there's an orange US president, and he received multiple allegations of sexual assault. Yeah, so my dating life started to slowly pick up, but it wasn't great. I remember my first post-coma date. I stood in front of her, and I just blanked. It's like I had completely forgotten how to interact with another human being. I just didn't know how to greet her. Should I give her a hug? Should I shake her hand? Should I do the old fist bump? Should I hit her over the head with a stick and drag her to my cave? I was just really confused. So yeah, in the end, I just barked and dry humped her leg. There was no second date. I guess she was just more of a cat person, really. Yeah. Well, actually, the thing is, I can be really shy, which is super helpful when you're dating, right? It's also great when you're on a stage in a room full of strangers and everybody's looking at you. Yeah. And then at some point I tried online dating, and I always thought it was really strange, the whole swiping thing. And then I signed up for an app, and I was like, wow, there's so many women on here. It totally makes sense now, all the swiping. But I do actually look at profiles. I'll read the text. It's just so much information. It can be overwhelming. And then I saw that you can bookmark profiles in the app.
So you're bookmarking human beings. How strange is that? I always thought bookmarks are for collecting blog articles I'll never read or recipes I'll never cook. Well, it turns out it's also for collecting women that will never talk to me. Yeah. And then I did go on dates, quite a few, and amongst those were quite a few first times. Not virgins, no, that's not what I meant. That would be weird. No, what I mean is like the first time I went out with a Jewish Israeli woman. And it was all good, but I'm German, and my country's history is a bit complicated. So I was just super conscious about the whole genocide thing. And I just avoided it and just remained super conscious the whole time. She didn't. We were having dinner, and just before the food came, she turned to me and she said, "Well, just so you know, I have basically no table manners, or as my mom always says, I eat like a Holocaust child." So that happened. I mean, what do you do? How are you supposed to respond? So how do you get from there to your next bit in your comedy set? Pizza. I really like pizza. It's my favorite. I love pizza. In fact, if I could, I would marry pizza. But that's just ridiculous. I could never marry pizza. No, I just don't have the money for an engagement ring that big. Speaking of married people, so this buddy and me, we were out drinking one night, and we entered a Späti for our last beer, and then he gets a text from his wife, and she says she's out of female hygiene products. And we are like, well, we are two grown men, we can handle this. So we get 2 beers, we approach the counter, and my friend is like, do you have any tampons? And he's like, yeah, sure, what size do you need? And he's like, what do you think? So they're having this whole sales conversation. Finally, he agrees on the product and he buys it, much to the relief of the big group of Swedish tourists that were waiting in line behind us the whole time. And then we went out, and that was one of the weirdest things I've ever witnessed in a Späti. One of the other weird things was just moments later, because my friend realized his wife doesn't use tampons, she uses pads. So we walk back in to do an exchange, and he walks out with a big bag of pads. And we walk down the street, and he just hides it underneath his leather jacket because he's so embarrassed, and it kind of makes him look like a drug dealer from a Mad Max movie. And I mean, it was just funny and awkward, but I mean, the thing is, this shouldn't be weird, right? Like, having a period is the most natural thing in the world. Unless you're a guy. If you're a guy and you're bleeding down there, go see a doctor. And this medical advice concludes my bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Very good. That's true. Yeah. There's so much advice there. And also, if you're not sure what size tampons to get small ones. And because then you can always put them in sideways. Okay. Speaking of sideways tampons, no. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the next act. Love to bits. Please, it's Anna. Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm just really happy to be here, and I'm really glad you're here because it would be strange if I was doing this to an empty room. So I've been thinking a lot this week, actually for the 34 years of my life, about my shame and kind of sexuality and vulnerability. It's been a real theme in my life. And I was having a conversation with my girlfriend the other day. We were trying something new, well, for me anyway, which was basically we were trying to scissor. I don't know if anyone knows what this is, but it's basically, it's kind of like contemporary dance. I just take it out of wedgie, sorry. And basically, so comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time. And basically, so we're doing this kind of contemporary dance, and it's essentially trying to touch two vaginas together because it feels good. And then, what happened next? Let me just remember. It's basically one of the fucking hottest days in Berlin. It was that week that was just like 40 almost. And I am a really problematic sweater. It happens everywhere. in terms of the country and my body. It's crazy. And she just doesn't fucking sweat. She doesn't sweat. I don't understand. I wish I had that gene. I don't. So we're kind of moving around in this contemporary dance, and this one isn't working, and this one isn't working, and that didn't quite work. And then, like, basically, I can feel the sweat coming off of my body, and I got embarrassed, and I just was like, started to laugh. And she just kind of looked at me, and she was like, Anna, I just want to have a conversation with you. Like, what? I don't understand why you just can't take this seriously. And so I laughed a bit more. And then I was just like, she was like, you know, you're only really like free when you're drunk or just really, really relaxed. And I was like, isn't that when everyone's really free? Doesn't that make me a normal person? So we're riding around, and I'm wet everywhere, and she's dry everywhere. And then I got to thinking, I was like, wait a minute, what else am I good at when I'm drunk and relaxed? One of them that I realized is that I'm really fucking brilliant at salsa, except when I'm drunk and relaxed, it's salsa. Another thing I found out that I'm really good at when I'm drunk is putting a beach towel down when it's windy. This is what day drinking does. So essentially, I'll show you, because you can do this at any beach, local beach, lakes, wherever. It's essentially, well, it's this. Stay with me. You'll see what's happening in just a second. Perfect square. Every corner covered like Pandora's box. I don't know why I said that. Another thing that I'm really good at when I'm drunk, what was it? Fuck. 1 second. Oh! I know what I'm doing. The other thing I'm really good at when I'm drunk is I'm an amazing fucking singer. And this is kind of what it goes like in my mind when it happens.
Welcome everybody tonight to the London Palladium, where we have a very special guest from the rainy city that is not Seattle, but is London town, Anna Brooks Bender! This is where you clap! Thank you very much. Get off my house in that cave. Let the shoe go. Sounded good already. Yeah, just going up. You are the one. You are the one. The one. You are the one who makes me feel woo, so real. Switch is like that. I'm trying to do it badly, but it's too good. What am I? Wait, next octave. Wait. What am I? Yeah, better. Supposed to do, baby. Who the fuck knows? What am I supposed to do, baby? When I get so hooked up on you. And I realize that you're somebody else's. Yeah! Thank you and good night!
I was not expecting that. Awesome. Anna is clearly a triple threat, singing, comedy, and beach towels. Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're giving moving right along. It's Chi Hong next. Give it up for Chi
When I was 26, I made my first ever Tinder date, and she took my virginity. After 3 months, she asked me to marry her. Well, it's like, I feel like, after like. She was Russian and her visa in Taiwan was about to expire, that's why. And I was like, yeah, marriage, 3 months. Yeah, that's a bit fast and intense. And there's a saying, marriage is like the grape of love. I feel like 3 months, I've just experienced everything, and now my life has come to the end. I feel I'm like a farm chicken. Come to think of it, I'm not losing an arm, I'm giving a signature. I can learn something from marriage. I hate my parents. You know what you do when you hate your parents? You marry a foreigner. Yeah, I got married. And a year after, she asked me to move to Moscow. Well, moving to somewhere you don't speak the local language is quite difficult. And Moscow, it is not like Berlin, where the local language is English. And that's how I thought about it. I'm not losing an arm. I can learn something from Moscow. Still, I hate my parents. You know what you do when you hate your, as a parent, you need to build the trust with your child. If there's no trust, your child at some point will start making decisions without you and eventually marry a Russian and run away from you. And a year after, I broke up with her without losing any arm. And I learned something. Next time when I'm giving a signature, I will just use pencil. I got a job in Berlin. Then moving to Berlin, a new city, could be fun and exciting, right? Bullshit. I feel lonely. I have no bros here. To meet new girls, you got Tinder. To meet new female friends, you got Tinder plus friend zone. And how about bros? Bros are important because they are straightforward, they are honest, but I don't have bros here. And what happens if you are with a bro? You're gonna pee together, and he's gonna be, hey, your dick is fucking small. And I'm not offended because first, he's my bro, second, he tells the truth. The first time I realized this truth was by looking at the famous statue of David by Michelangelo, which is famous for having a small dick. And I was like, so this is considered small. Well, I guess apparently I'm short in many ways, thanks to my parents. However, bros don't judge you by what you're given. Bros don't judge you by having a dagger instead of having a sword. And the thing is, bros judge you only if you give up fighting. If you have a dagger, you can still fight. And I would say, broship works this way. It works with P. P has some miraculous power that connects people. If you guys pee together, sometimes pee on each other by accident, like spin pee. You are officially bros. That's a ritual. And at some point, I compensated by looking for hookups. And the thing is, as a short guy, expect that she is gonna be taller than you. And the problem is, you don't really get a tutorial for that from Pornhub. And you're a dagger. You need to fight like a dagger. You don't fight like a sword. No. thing is that you never give up fighting. I'm King David. With a small dick, I fight giants. Thank you.
He's single, so ladies. Normally I'd be against so many dick jokes, but as they're so small. Alright, let's keep going. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for this next act. She's wonderful. It's Masha!
Good evening. Thank you for coming. You know I'm Russian, but I'm not his ex-wife. Yes, my name is Masha. I'm from Russia, and thanks. Usually people don't believe it, and their first reaction is like, "Are you sure you're Russian? Maybe you're from Kazakhstan or Mongolia." Sometimes they tell me konnichiwa or make a fake Chinese accent. Then I think, okay, I look like Chinese, but you look like an idiot. Recently, a random German guy tried to make me feel ashamed that I don't speak German. He told me, "Imagine if I lived in China and didn't speak Chinese." Seriously, man? I don't give a fuck. I'm Russian, bitch. In my country, people like to suffer. If you don't suffer, there is something wrong with you. No wonder we are raised by books of Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, and other drama queens. And yeah, it's true, I usually don't smile much, and I feel, I think it's suspicious when people smile at me. Once in Berlin, I was in an S-Bahn, and there was a woman in front of me, and she started to smile at me. It was so scary, all these non-verbal social communications. So I turned my head away and tried to understand what's wrong with me. Toothpaste on my face, bird's shit on my hair, one boob out, or is she flirting with me? Then I realized she just wanna be polite and it's like a game and I should learn these rules. So I decided to go against my fear. I turned my head, looked directly into her eyes, and moved my lips into a smile. It was not that hard. I think I should do it more often, more friendly. But then she very quickly moved to the next carriage on the same train. I think I must have won this game. And something else about Russia. This country could be really ridiculous. For example, there is a law which forbids gay propaganda, without explanation of what propaganda is. So, any rainbow on a child's toy could be considered as propaganda. More than 2 colors in clothes? Too dangerous. They even banned the rainbow in the sky, because this magic is so strong, once you look at it, stay forever. By the way, do you know what is LGBT? I will tell you correct answer. So, LGBT means lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transformers! Exactly, transformers. This is how President Putin recently called transgenders. This is diversity in Russian. Because of me being lesbian, my mother worried that I will end up in alcoholism and loneliness. Actually, like a lot of people in Russia, no matter of their sexuality. Maybe my mom anyway should worry because I really like alcohol. But I hate drugs. It's just something I don't get. Once on a party, I had such a weird acid trip. I went to the washroom being totally sure that I have a penis. I knew I had one. I could draw it in details. Long enough, pretty, a bit curved, very reliable. I really loved this part of my body. Can you imagine my disappointment? It was like in a meme. Expectations. You are having a great party with sex, drugs, rock and roll. Reality. You are very upset because you lost a penis, which you never had. Thank you very much.
React, but this is everyone's first time doing stand-up. Pretty fucking good, isn't it? Also, if any of you have seen Nash's penis, please give it to Lost and Found. Okay, we have a very exciting act. Please give it up for Hannah.
Hello. This is very nerve-wracking. I'm not used to speaking to this many people. I'm not used to speaking to anyone if I can help it. Because I'm a freelance writer, that was very much a conscious choice because I find offices very confusing. Especially the modern ones, the ones you get today where they do the Macarena in the Monday morning meeting, which that was alive. The ones where they're really chill and it's really casual and there's no rules, except there is rules, there's always fucking rules, it's just now they're secret rules. And I don't do very well at figuring out secret rules. I can't even figure out smart casual. As someone who works from home and an extra student, my wardrobe is almost entirely things I can sleep in, things I could wear to a festival. So inevitably, if I did have to go into an office, I arrive like a very uncomfortable +1 at a wedding. I'm dressed a bit too formal, I'm a bit too drunk. The person who's meant to be showing me around has long ago fucked off, and I am trying so hard. You can see the pain in my eyes when I smile. About midweek, maybe midday, depending on how bad it's gone, I'm fucking tired. How the fuck does everyone do this? I've forgotten all your names, I want to go home. Hence, when the Friday drinks come around, it's dangerous to let loose, because loose I do get. After all that social tension, after all that anxiety, I'm ready to bond, I'm ready to share, and I do share. I share everything. By the end of the night, everyone knows about my persistent thrush. They know all about the terrible acid trip of 2015 that really was transformative, and it's good, and I have fun. I spend the weekend in this sort of giddy, set place of like anxiety, but happiness, hope even. But unlike a wedding, where you can happily never see anyone again, I have to go in on Monday and do this weird little dance in the kitchen where you're like, well, you see your colleague, your hot little friend, and it's like, hey, how was your weekend? And they say, yeah, chill, how was yours? And it does not matter what you look like. You could have a still smoking cigarette behind your ear. You could be literally drenched in cum. And the only appropriate answer to give them is, yeah, it was chill. And thus you have worked out the secret. This is your dance that you must do forever and return to her until the end of probation. So that I don't really fit in offices, as I have established. I've written a little song, and this is about another time I didn't really fit in. I hope you like it. Guess it was pretty far. Brandenburg Swingers Bar. It was Egyptian themed with a pool and spa. And a buffet and a free bar. So so of course I wanted to know what that would be like when he asked me if I would like to go. I went down to the dungeon with my date. He said he'd like to screw his mate. She was driving, it seemed fair, and I was quite taken in by the atmosphere. Since people get moved in small spaces, things are easily misplaced. With all the fucking in low light, those things get pretty hard to find. So half the room were getting blown, and half were looking for their phone. And I started laughing, and they shushed me. Orgies must be taken seriously. So I checked out the buffet in the pool. I ate my chicken nuggets alone, it was just like school. Took a swim and I stroked my face. So I shook his hand and I asked his name. So I started to get the sense that orgies were not really for me. But I don't give up that easily, so here's what I did. I went down to the dungeon with the date of the mate of my initial date. And he laid me down on the leather platform. We started getting on, and then the code came along. And they looked at each other and nodded their heads. And like strangers helping somebody with a broken tent, they took each one of my legs and they spread. Well, I did not know the etiquette. Feeling rank is all I said. And we all carried on for a while until they left with waving smiles. And I can't say make sex better. But it's nice that they wanted us all to come together.
So fantastic, really, really good. It's really hard for me to like give notes for a song. I can't be like, do a G sharp, or like I don't know. So cool. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep on going. Oh, I've already forgotten. Oh, fantastic. Please give a huge round of applause for Joey.
Hello, y'all. The autistic dog has left, so it's okay to make noise again. Yes, so you know, check the forecast. Summer is coming back. Warm weather is on its way back. So I hope you all been working on your beach bodies. I sure have. For me, that means a hairless body. Smooth like a baby's bottom that's just gone through chemo. I can joke about that. I'm a Cancer. Yeah, so I have an epilator. It gives me the feminine feeling that I'm after. And not just the stereotypical aesthetic of a hairless body, but also the pain and suffering that women are subjected to by beauty standards under a sexist society, not to mention childbirth. But do you all know what an epilator is? It's this like electric mechanical device that rips out each hair follicle one by one. It's like midwifing a billion burning bee stings through each vagina pore. It's got like a ginger shot. Yeah, so that's the aesthetic I'm after, and I've always had a troubled relationship with my body because I know, I feel like a woman in many ways, but I know that no matter what steps I take, I'll never fully feel at home in my body. But by this point, I've come to terms with it. I think I hate my body at a fairly normal, healthy level. I just know that I don't relate to masculinity, and I want nothing to do with the patriarchy. And besides, they wouldn't let me join because I cross my legs like this instead of like this, aka manspreading with elegance. So yeah, that's why the kids turn me on to this new phrase, non-binary. I don't identify as either a woman or a man. I'm not a dude, and I'm definitely not a bro. I'm not your brother. As far as you're concerned, I'm an only child. So yeah, I go by the gender pronoun they, which is a new thing for me. But that's actually not a new thing in general. Like, people have been doing that for years, to use they for one person. In fact, even Shakespeare used it in her writing. And yes, Shakespeare was a woman. Don't let the patriarchy fool you otherwise. Y'all have probably done it yourself too. Like if you're telling a story like, oh yeah, I was crossing the street and this driver sped through the stop sign and they almost ran me over. A bit tender still from the epilating. It leaves these like red dots and blotches all over your body. The cool thing though is that on my chest it left this formation that looks a little bit like the bat signal. So I was showing off my beach body at the pool. I got my Adam West Speedo, my bat signal, the George Clooney bat nipples, feeling like a superhero. I always used to look forward to new Batman movies. Then I dropped out when Ben Affleck took over. I do feel a bit bad for the guy though. Batfleck never got his own Batflick. But now he's out of the picture, and I read that they're replacing him with someone from Game of Thrones, which I know is super popular, but I've actually never even played it. I was always sheltered as a child. I didn't have video games, so I was kind of an outcast and made fun of a lot. Bad sports, feminine, overweight, until I went vegan. But then I got a lot of like, well, you don't eat cheese, but are you a faggot? Say like, wait, the fact that I don't eat solidified cow tit juice makes me a faggot? No, the fact that I like to suck dick is what makes me a faggot. Yeah, we all have sucking dick. I'm not as strict as I used to be though. Sometimes I have seafood. And sometimes I have sex with a woman. I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere, but I'll let the misogynist keep that one. I have often wondered what it would feel like to have a baby growing inside of me. I mean, like when it kicks, does it feel like gently getting fisted? No, but I think there would be something really like uplifting and validating for me if I could get pregnant, just so that I could exercise my right to have an abortion. All right, thank y'all. Joey. Thank you. By the way, jokes aside, I'm serious about the pronoun thing. Please respect people's pronouns, they, them. If you don't respect that, then next time I see you crossing the street, I will run you over.
Give it up for Joey, yeah! Okay, I know it's getting hot in here. We're down to our last 3 comics. Are you very, very excited? You sound less excited, but I know it's hot. So please, without further ado, please go wild and crazy for Julia!
sarcasm. And this has really bothered me. And considering I've just changed my career to work in comedy, and as a clown, this is a very big problem. In fact, I think I am suffering from what one might term a clown crisis. This is becoming quite serious because I can no longer figure out how to be funny. And the struggle is growing into a certain desperation. It keeps me awake at night. I break out into sweats. I fret and worry. I have begun to drink. I will go to the local Kneipe. And order whiskey. And admit to the bartender in my broken German, do you know what it's like to be a clown? Do you know what it's like to not be funny? Can you imagine what it's like to stand in front of a room of people wearing a red nose and to feel naked? Standing in the void, bearing one's soul in the spotlight. I feel like a paralyzed mime, stuck in an invisible box of self-doubt, unable to make my screams heard. No salvation, suffering in my comical angst. And the bartender will listen to me with concerning kindness. And when it is time to close, gently lift me in my mime box out of the bar and place me onto the sidewalk. I do not believe in traditional psychological therapy. So I have consulted a psychic healer for support. We Skype. She has amazing coverage, considering she is living in the distant bushland in Australia. She told me I have not to worry. I'm only suffering now because during my past life, in 1645, when I died in the war, I also suffered similar issues with my confidence. And this is just a repetition in my karmic cycle. If I clear the demons from my body and take salt baths in the moonlight, all will be okay. Thank you for listening to me tonight. You have been more than kind.
That's what I've loved about teaching this class is that just everyone's different. Everyone's doing something completely unexpected, which I love. So please, we're down to the last two. Please go wild and crazy. Keep the energy up for Rasmus.
Thank you. And my name is Rasmus. Hi. I was planning to go without the jacket, and about 30 minutes ago I started to sweat heavily. I'm going to keep it on for now. That's okay. So thanks for the warm welcome. That's not always the case. I was in a situation recently. I call it the awkward mirror dance. and you somewhere, and you realize you're about to collide with a stranger, and then you start that silly routine. You know, to step aside left and step aside right, and you repeat, until you manage to dodge or one of you gets pregnant. I was in one of those. It was near Cottbus with a woman. She was about my age. And we start the dance moves, like we do it one, step aside left, and that's totally normal. We do it a second time, right, and I think, okay, it's starting to get awkward. And I'm very few steps away from being a sex offender. And we actually did it a third time, and still on collision course, and I'm like, okay, maybe she's flirting. So I'm smiling at her. And I'm preparing to say something witty, something like, we gotta stop doing this. like we're in the 90s and we're Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, something like that. So, but then right in front of me I realized that she's rolling her eyes. And I'm instantly saying to myself, abort mission, because military slang in my head is like the closest I'll ever get to being an alpha male. And right as she's passing me, she's just saying, freak. Yeah, was about my reaction as well. Was a nice touch, you know. But I think freak is really unfair though, because I mean, it was not like I was wearing a tinfoil hat, or like I was taking my parrot for a walk on a dog leash or something. So, and also the awkward mirror dance, it's like it's not a solo dance. So, if I would do it on my own, it would just be walking. So anyway, the whole thing reminded me of another situation from about 14 years ago. When I was 20, I was in a relationship with a girl named Nadine, and she happened to be a professional stripper. And my parents weren't too excited about me dating a stripper back then. They were mostly afraid that I might get her pregnant, and that we would have stripper babies. Stripper babies are babies that are born in clothes and then they start to undress real slowly. You know, they have like dollar bills in their diapers and all that stuff. If you put them on the table or on your lap, they dance. So anyway, before I met Nadine, I wasn't really experienced sex-wise. You know, I basically just knew one position, and it was called loneliness. That's when the guy is laying flat on his back and the woman doesn't exist. So she like for me, having a penis was like having a driver's license without owning a car. Like you want to use it so bad, but you never really get the chance to. And mostly it's just in your pants, resting there. And very rarely someone asks you to actually show it. Nadine was like, she was more experienced. She had like a garage full of vehicles, like sports cars, motorboats, helicopters. It wasn't like the Fast and the Furious. She was like the Vin Diesel of sex. So she taught me stuff. No, I don't want to go into details. I'm kidding, I will go into details. So while we had sex, she asked me to choke her. And at first I didn't want to, I just didn't see myself as the stripper choking type. I was more like the cry during sunsets type. But she insisted, so I gave in and we tried and I choked her, which felt really strange because choking while you're having sex, it seems so counterintuitive. Imagine the opposite. You're in a fist fight and suddenly your opponent goes like, can we just hug for a while? That's not a situation. But anyway, Nadine, she seemed to enjoy the jokey sex. So, and that was important for me. It was important for me that one of us had fun. So, and at some point we would come to an end, meaning that she would have an orgasm and I would call up in fetal position and develop PTSD. And a few seconds later, she would open her eyes and she would smile at me and she would start saying something. And I didn't understand, I was still choking her. But I loosened my grip and I was just hoping that she would say, I love you. And all she really said was, freak. So the relationship didn't last. We had no stripper babies and yeah. There was one more punchline and I actually forgot it.
act of the evening, and then afterwards everyone's going to come up on stage. We're going to go crazy. So until that happens, please give it up for Shelby!
I feel like a right dickhead because all week I was like, yeah, I'm not scared at all. It's gonna be fine. I practiced in front of 8 people. It went really well. Now I'm looking at all of you and I'm like, oh fuck. Yeah. So moving to a new city, a country, it's great. You know, you get to be the person you always wanted to be. I just wasn't aware that person owns the bomb bag, but also always has salami and peppermint schnapps in that bomb bag. And then I'm just like telling myself, Shelby, you get that Berlin experience. So I'm like, de-riff my salami breath with the snaps on the way to make coffee for work. This is definitely why you left your steady office job back in Australia. You know, I definitely had a different vision in mind. I was going to be living in Kreuzberg, edgy housemates, bringing home handsome German dudes. But instead I'm like living in Pankow with my communist housemate Max. He's like way too obsessed with the fact I don't have a lamp in my room. Like, I'd stop bringing people over, guys. It's serious. Like, he'll just introduce himself and he'd be like, hi, I'm Max. Do you think it's really weird that Shelby doesn't have a lamp in her room? Like, for mood lighting? What sort of lamp do you have in your room? A salt lamp? Shelby, would you like a salt lamp? We can get you a salt lamp. And I was like, mood lighting for what? I'm not bringing anyone home. Like, I emptied my bag out the other day and there was like 8 condoms, unused, guys, don't worry. There's like 3 different types, like latex allergy, I've got you. Come too fast, I've got you. Little small down there, I've got you. 12-inch dick, no, I have not got you. Get that monster penis away from me. That's what I wish I said when I was 18, but I couldn't walk straight for like a week. Mom's like, what happened? I'm like, a bike accident. You don't own a bike, Shelby, and you don't do any physical activity. Wow. Yeah. So recently I got ghosted. And for those of you who don't know what ghosting is, it's when you've been like fucking someone and then you text them like, yeah, let's have sex again, and then they just don't reply and like drop off the fucking face of the earth. Which I'm actually okay with, just not when they have my headphones. Because I'm a barista, I can't afford new ones. So yeah, and then I kind of thought about it, I was like, oh, it's karma, because I recently ghosted someone myself, so kind of deserved it. So I was like thinking about karma. How can I drum up karma so I can finally find someone to date? And by date, I mean like someone who I like fuck once or twice a week. When I'm hungover, they hold me and tell me I'm beautiful whilst like feeding me salami. And like maybe they'll let me peg them. I don't know. I don't think I'm asking for too much, but yeah. Also, so I was like thinking about this way. I like drum me up this karma. Now, ladies, hear me out. I'm gonna go on these Tinder dates for you. I'm gonna check for the red flags. Is he sexist? Is he racist? Does he talk about his ex who's also Australian, just like you? Way too fucking much. So I'm really good at ignoring red flags. Like I'm good at noticing them and ignoring them. Like the guy who ghosted me, he had like a shoelace for a belt and a fake name on Tinder. And there was never a question as to whether he was going to ghost me. He was going to ghost me. So yeah, and you don't have to worry, they're not going to fall in love with me. I'll go on these Tinder dates. This is what happens on a Tinder date usually. I talk about 3 things. First of all, salami. No, I only ever talk about salami. My breath always smells like salami. I get very wine drunk or stoned or both, so in terms of sex, it's just like starfish. And then like as he looks at my bedside table and like sees all these empty bottles of peppermint snaps and salami, and then he reaches for a lamp that's not there for mood lighting. I don't know why people are ghosting you, Shelby. Yeah. Don't ghost people.
I'm the worst at promoting myself, but if you want to do this, if you want to take one of my classes, Google Berlin Stand-Up School, because I ran out of flyers, or speak to me. Berlin Stand-Up School, it's really easy to remember. And without further ado, please go wild and crazy for everybody that you see. Please give it up for Jonathan! Julia, proud. It's amazing what you've achieved, really. This is, I honestly don't say this every time. This was one of my favourite classes for a long time. It was so good. It's just that's it. Join me for a drink afterwards. Well, I'll speak to you in the green room as well. We'll do a little wind down and everything. So thank you everybody for coming and all that. Support your friends. I don't know what's happening here. I'm losing my mind. It's stuck to me. Thank you. That's it. It's the end of the show. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well done. Yes. There's actually a comedy open mic here afterwards as well. So if you want to see some people with all the light that's gone out of their eyes in comedy,